With the dust barely settled at the bomb site, President Megawati Sukarnoputri flew to Bali to tour the devastated area. She was accompanied by her most senior cabinet and security chiefs. These are the men who must now find out who was responsible and then coordinate the government's wider response to terrorism. Just how hard that will be was revealed this week. On Monday, the defence minister suggested Al-Qaeda were responsible for the blast, the first public admission by the government that the terror network was active in Indonesia.
Saya melihat bahwa ini merupakan satu kelompok yang cukup profesional. Saya menjadi yakin bahwa jaringan Al-Qaeda di Indonesia memang benar-benar ada.
Yesterday he was contradicted by his own police force, now in charge of finding the culprits.
Sampai saat ini polisi belum memiliki fakta yuridis bahwa kasus bombing in Bali memiliki kaitan dengan Al-Qaeda.
While there's apparently no evidence yet, the Americans and the Australians are pointing fingers at the Jama'ah Islamiyah, said to be a Southeast Asian offshoot of Al-Qaeda. JI leader Abu Bakar Bashir denies any suggestion of the group's involvement. In today's Indonesia, there's no shortage of potential terror culprits, although an attack of this magnitude is thought to be beyond the capability of most local extremist groups. But the forces of radical Islam are increasingly at the centre of Indonesian politics, and they have a history of violence. The Laskar Jihad is but one example. With the military's support, they've shipped thousands of fighters to the Maluku Islands to wage war on Christians. Amidst the intense pressure of the last few days, they now appear to have closed down. But for Megawati, taking on the Islamic extremists is easier said than done. From the very beginning of her presidency, she's had to tread very carefully in dealing with these groups. She needs their support to stay in power.
There are three big political groups in Indonesia. The one are, let us say, the nationalists. They are also for the greatest part Muslims. Then there are the traditional Muslims that have been led by Abdurrahman Wahid, and then you have the modernist one. Now, Megawati has to get the support of at least two of these groups.
If staying in power means currying favour with the most radical of these groups, then so be it. Her husband, Taufik Kimas, has worked very hard to shore up this power base. Only days before Megawati became president, he went to great lengths trying to win the support of just one of many Islamic extremists, Habib Hussein. He spent 12 years in prison for bombing the ancient Buddhist temple at Borobudur in central Java.
Nggak ada orang lebih ekstrim dari Habib, siapa lebih ekstrim dari Habib ya Habib ya. Iya. Maksud dalam arti kata baik gitu, dalam kata baik.
And Indonesia's vice president, Hamzah Haz, himself the leader of Indonesia's largest Islamic-based party, has always supported the hardliners. He made this abundantly clear from day one of Megawati's government. The first visitor he received as vice president was the leader of the Laskar Jihad, Jafar Umar Talib. And despite last Saturday's blast, he still refuses to condemn the hardliners, a position that exposes his government to yet more criticism.
I'm also appalled. I've already spoken against this kind of talking.
Father Franz Magnus Suseno is a respected Jesuit theologian who has lived in Indonesia and closely followed the Islamic movement for over 40 years.
On the other hand, you can say with Hamzah Haz that a connection to the three groups he shields, the Laskar Jihad, the Islamic Defense Force, and the Mujahideen in Sola of Abu Bakar Bashir, has indeed not yet proved in any way. So he only says as long as it is not proved, they may have radical views, but there's no reason to put anybody in prison.
As the search for the perpetrators begins, there is little confidence here that the police are capable of conducting an effective investigation into the blast. They are widely accused of incompetence and complacency in the face of a growing terrorist threat, a charge the National Police spokesman vehemently denies.
Ada 185 kasus sejak tahun 98, itu 182 yang terjadi yang meledak. Kita sudah mampu menyelesaikan 64 kasus. Nah, ulangi, 64%. Jadi kita sudah bekerja keras sebelum 11 September. Ya. Jadi kalau polisi dikatakan tidur itu tidak benar. Polri sudah bekerja keras untuk mengungkap teror yang terjadi di Indonesia.
Along with his American counterpart, Australian Ambassador Rick Smith has warned Indonesia of the terrorist threat and has been pushing for more concrete action.
I'm not going to tell them who they should arrest, but I do believe that they have to take action, and I think they will.
With Indonesia under intense international pressure, the powerful Speaker of the Upper House admitted yesterday that his government wasn't doing enough to address a growing problem.
We have to be honest to ourselves, if according to international opinion or international standard, we are still not really doing our utmost, so we have to improve our performance.
But many observers believe that Amin Rais has also used radical Islam to shore up his own power base.
Maybe you measure with your own, I think I don't want to take advantage. I don't want to utilize this human suffering for my political gain, But if you see me that I'm doing like this, up to you. But let me tell you that maybe you are using your own measure. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And now, to further complicate an already sensitive investigation, an admission by Indonesia's intelligence chief that the Bali bomb contained a powerful plastic explosive, often used by the military. Speculation is already beginning here on whether rogue elements of Indonesia's military may have played some role in the blast.
I would not say that this is impossible.
But more unlikely than the Al-Qaeda hypothesis?
I wouldn't choose. I would look in both directions. Yes.